Good start.
Ellie, I may be a little unfit for this podcast.
All right, I thought that was bad timing on that cough. It was actually very good timing.
It could have been bad timing because I was legitimately coughing before it started.
Yeah, that's why I thought it was just bad timing.
No, I may be a little unfit to podcast today, man. I don't.
You fooled me as well as the audience. Yeah, I mean, so for those of you who
we're always unfit. For what's worth, we're always unfit to podcast. This is not a new thing.
Well, quite. When we record, we have to put in a little name for ourselves that shows up at the bottom of our recording screens. I don't think anyone else can see them except us.
Our editor can see them. When our files get downloaded, they get downloaded as our name.mp4 or something.
Right. Yours is unfit to podcast, and mine was T-side round winner. Neither of us conferred on this. No. We just both decided that we were going to reference
we've had
Cadian's horrendous first day.
We've had some excellent names over the year. I think that there should be. I think maybe at the end of the year we do our favorite names of the year because we've had some good ones. We've been good about this. We're gonna get started right in on what's gone on this week because it hasn't been a huge amount, but the one story that has dominated everything is worth us kind of dedicating a podcast to.
Yeah, literally. It's just objectively one of the funniest things to ever happen in Counter-Strike.
So just for you, the listener, so that way you're ready for this. We're going to talk about the Cadian bit for the majority of this podcast. Towards the end, there's a couple of different roster moves that we'll get into, slightly concerning the Cadian stuff, but just in general. And we'll touch on Blast a little bit in the inside of the Cadian story. But as this event is a qualifier for an event, or maybe this is just a qualifier for an event, it's too much fucking bullshit in Blast. We'll touch on it quickly. Let's start then with Cadian. If you've lived under a rock for the last week, we had told you last week on the podcast that Cadian had joined Astralis, and we went cool.
I said I hated it. I said I really didn't like the move.
Okay, both of us said we didn't like it, but like, cool, as in we do not give a shit.
Yeah,
this move to us last week felt like something that just it was either exchanging like for like, or it was just a straight up downgrade. And it didn't feel like Astralis really knew what they were doing in making this move. They just kind of made a move, and it didn't actually help anyone. So we were not particularly high on this move, and then we became a lot less high when we found out that Cadian was going to be playing in Blast Premier's Fall Finals when the roster lock date was a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Now, you may go, well, how did they do such a thing? Well, the Astralis organization told Blast that Bro was unfit to play.
Yeah.
I think that was the exact wording. He was unfit to play, which was in direct contrast with Bro's agent coming out and saying that he was fully healthy and ready to perform.
I would like to say, I don't think I've ever been so sick that I couldn't play Counter-Strike.
I agree, but if you... there is a bit of this that's like, if you have COVID and you had to go... and
you don't want to be near your team.
They said you can only play from the studio. I would have gone, fair fucking game, we'll play with Rugga.
Or if you can't go 45 minutes without vomiting, maybe. But
yeah,
I've never been ill enough that I couldn't play Counter-Strike. I can tell you that much for free.
I mean, maybe he had like migraines or something that he like couldn't look at a screen.
Yeah, or broke his hand.
Now, let's be very clear. None of these happened. These are all bullshit.
This is all stuff we're making up.
Yeah, so they said this. Astralis came out and said this. Now, if you have any knowledge of past subs, including in Blast, actually in the last Blast event we saw, you'll know that generally when a team needs a sub, they grab their coach. Yeah. We've seen Blade play, we've seen Saw play, we've seen Zonic play. There's a very famous Zonic clip of when Blast used to do the 1v1 maps instead of overtime, of Zonic beating Simple on a map because... that's just how it was.
Also, it happened often enough that G2 losing to coaches was a meme.
Yeah. And Taz played when Monazee could not get there in time in the last Blast event, and Taz played the first two maps.
Yeah. I remember
Of course
Regen
not.
playing for Mouse and beating G2 in a
There are
final.
so many times that a coach has played for a team in a Blast event. In an ESL event, too. That is not just a
Yeah.
Blast thing. But the correct answer is you have to put a sub on the roster when the roster lock hits, and basically every goddamn team puts their coach.
Yeah.
Now, Astralis obviously did put their coach. They did put Raga. But this kind of thing happened where they said that he was unfit to play, and oh look, we have Cadian, our new recruit here. Let's
Yeah.
just bring him in. So there was an article that came out on HLTV written by Mira, which is called "Astralis got Cadian in for the fall final as on an emergency sub. Was it against the rules?" Now there is a provision in Blast stuff that says that that there is an emergency substitution due to issues such as illness, injury, and travel disruption, and the acceptance or rejection of an emergency replacement will be decided by Blast on a case-by-case basis in its sole discretion. This does not affect visa issues.
No.
They've actually come out and said that they deem visa issues to be a team problem, and that if a team wasn't on top of getting a visa in time, that's your fault.
Yeah. Which I think's kind of fair enough, to be honest.
Yeah, that's respectable. I'm okay with that. I'm not saying that this rule is bad, but Blast have come out and in a Twitter thread of 6 basically said, hey, Astralis told us bro was unfit to play, and we haven't gone and asked for fucking doctor's notes because we ain't little bitches that are going to go ask for doctor's notes. We're not your mom and like looking for a doctor's note or something. You're an adult. If you tell us you cannot play, we assume you're telling the fucking truth.
Yeah.
And the guy can't play.
Which most of the time does just work because most people aren't deceitful and
like it's
tricky.
total. If I was running Blast, I wouldn't be asking for fucking doctor's notes. Like,
no.
How often are you sick and like some shit has to happen and you don't go to the doctor? I had COVID like 6 months ago. I didn't go to the fucking doctor.
Yeah.
I just stayed at home and did fuck all. Like, if like my doctor doesn't fucking know, I'm not going to the doctor to fucking say, "Hey, bro, I have COVID. Can you give me a doctor's note?"
I think when I had what I suspected to be COVID, but I failed a test, and I went in. I called the doctor and he was like, "Oh, go into the pharmacy and ask them to look down your throat." And I did that, not really thinking about it, and the pharmacist just wouldn't go anywhere near me. And in retrospect, it's like, "Oh yeah, of course they wouldn't," because they knew it was COVID, even though the test failed.
Yeah. So
complete tangent, but
yeah, no, it's fine. So
what I'm saying is, bro failed a COVID test, probably, and
we don't actually know.
Anyway.
We don't know. No. We just know he was unfit to play. So
they don't even pretend that he was. They didn't even pretend he had COVID. They just said he's ill.
They just said he's ill. So Blast came out after. Now Blast's last Twitter thread came out, but it didn't come out of their own volition. It came out because 6 of the 8 teams, IGLs, came out on Twitter and said, I might be unfit for Blast Media tomorrow. And then every IGL, with the exception of Cadian and Chopper, did not show up to Blast Media Day.
Yeah.
With what I would consider a very well-written statement by Twists, on exactly what they were aiming to do with this and why they thought this was important to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's obvious that, like, of course, Astralis shouldn't be able to bend the rules because other teams wouldn't, or would get punished for this. But for some reason, Blast's statement basically says, oh, we've got no reason to believe they're lying. But you do have reason to believe they're lying. 6 of the 8 teams are protesting because they think he's lying. Bro's agent thinks they're lying. The only people who don't think they're lying are Blast.
Yeah. Yeah, so Twist basically said, what happened revealed a major issue. I'm going to paraphrase here. I will use most of Twist's own words, but I'm going to paraphrase. One is the major issue that is very threatening to every player in CS and org not being represented by a tournament organizer. Respected. There's a lot of RES words. If an agent disregarded and not looked upon as the most accurate figure to represent said person, what are we really doing here? Letting the organization dictate the health of a player and not the actual representative of a player? What the fuck are we doing? The "what the fuck are we doing" is definitely a paraphrase from me.
Yeah. He didn't say that. Well, he
No,
probably
he
did,
didn't.
but he didn't write that.
He didn't write that. But this brings up a couple of other things. I believe that Twist brought up, but it may not have been a Twist brought up thing, which is the CSPPA used to exist.
Yeah.
That was the Counter-Strike Players Association.
We're missing
I think I'm
what you
missing
mean.
a letter in there.
You are.
But the CSPPA used to exist. It was basically a union for Counter-Strike players in which they were able to collectively bargain for better things with tournaments, with teams, etc., etc.
Yeah.
It went away probably, 3-4 years ago?
Well, I think the leader was Chris J, and, you know,
Yeah.
he got zucked.
Yeah, it didn't... They stopped kind of doing this a couple of years ago, and it kind of looks like this is a great opportunity for them to do it again, because this is exactly what that is, right?
Yeah, it's time for Chris J to come out of retirement and restart
God.
the CSPPA.
No.
Couldn't agree more with you, Logan. Couldn't agree more. I miss it.
You know what? That's exactly what I'm saying.
Look, if anyone knows about whether somebody does or doesn't have COVID, it's Chris J, alright? He knows everything there is to know about COVID-19. He will tell you immediately if bro's faking it or not. I'm telling you. We need Chris J on the case.
So, let's... we have two different branches here. We're going to take branch 1, then we'll take branch 2. We're going to take the Blast Astralis branch here, which is... All the captains protested, and guess what? Nothing fucking happened. So Astralis were still able to participate with Blast. For what it's worth, Carrigan sent a letter to Blast that was separate from Twist's tweet, which was a very good letter, and I would like to note that... The second aspect we wish to address is our firm stance against the exploitation of mental health or physical health issues as a means to justify the allowance of an emergency substitute. We believe such matters should never be taken lightly, and it basically goes on to say that don't fucking lie about someone's mental health.
Look, the problem is... Go on.
I want to note that this is actually signed by every IGL except for Cadian, including Chopper. So Chopper, who did show up for Media Day, did sign this letter.
The problem is, and unfortunately, this is just an unfortunate thing. If you're going to have mental health rules in, mental health is very difficult to diagnose from outside. So unfortunately, there are going to be bad actors. That's always going to be the way. Like, if you say anyone can have mental health issues and it's not always obvious, somebody's going to abuse that. And it's really unfortunate, but that's just the way humans are. Especially when there is money and competition on the line. Somebody's going to try every fucking trick in the book. Somebody's going to abuse that rule. It's the same as in football. They have a rule where if there's a head injury, the game has to stop because it's dangerous. Now, what do you think happens every single time Arsenal head a corner clear and it falls to somebody on the edge of the box? One of them has a head injury.
Yeah,
every single time. William Saliba or Gabriel has a head injury from heading the ball. Every time. It's just the way... Nobody seems to care either in football, whereas, in this, they're at least trying to close the gap.
Yeah. It's one of those things that you need to take very seriously, and Blast is probably taking this pretty seriously in terms of, mental health is a legitimate reason to not be at an event, etc. But bullshitting about that, and then with Bro's agent coming out and going, yeah, he's totally fine. And there's proof that he's totally fine. Yeah. Because sources say he's fucking trialing with Ents right now.
Yep. Well, exactly. There's nothing wrong with him.
There's obviously nothing wrong with him here.
Or Ents are so bad that they're willing to get ill just to, Have you ever seen that Reddit post that's from some, NFL fan, and their team is bottom of the league, and he's just should we execute 5 of our players so we can have an emergency draft?
Yes. I have. It's excellent.
That's what Ents are doing. They're bringing in Bro with his Ebola and trying to just cause an emergency draft so they don't have to cancel loads of contracts.
Yeah, they just want to make sure the plague gets around the entire team.
Yeah, they just want to make sure, so that's what, I tell you what, if I signed Bro, first event, I would say my entire team is ill.
My entire team is unfit to play.
And just call up Astralis. So can you stand in for us? We've all got br0vid 19. Can Astralis stand in for us?
So one more bit on this. If anyone was curious to know, our team is just scared of playing Astralis. Are they just trying to get Weasel out of having to play Katie on Astralis? The answer is no.
No.
The answer is really no. So fall final started today, and Vitality played against Astralis in the opening round, and Astralis got 4 rounds over 2 maps.
Yeah, I mean, at least it was worth it to bring Cadian in.
Hold on, sorry. Let me clarify. 4 rounds over 2 maps would be a 13-0 in the first map.
Yeah.
And then a 13-4 in the second map. It wasn't 13-2.
And importantly, none of those rounds came on the T side. They didn't win a single T side round.
No T side rounds.
And you might be thinking, well, yeah, but if they got 30 nodes starting on the T side. Do you want to, all right, I've got some good facts about this. Who do you think had the fewest kills on the T side in this game?
Was it Cadian?
No, it was Apex. Apex went 3 and 6 on the T side.
Of which, just in general, or was it map specific T side?
No, that's over the series.
That was over the series.
Over the series, Apex got 3 T side kills, which is 1 fewer than Stown on 4. On Astralis, nobody got more than 7, and every single one of them died in every single T side round. Obviously, Device and Cadian actually had the most T side kills with 7 apiece. Spinks had 17 T side kills, which means you can combine any 2 Astralis players with Spinks outfrag them both on the T side. Yeah, I mean, on Dust 2 they had 6 T side kills in 4 rounds. On Inferno they had 23 over 12 rounds. So they were averaging less than 2 kills per round on the T side.
I, honest to God, believe that if you, not me, because I'm bad at the game, if you took a random 5-stack that you played Face It with and went up against Vitality, you could probably do just as well as Astralis did.
Oh, I don't know about that. Not against Vitality. Against Astralis, yeah.
Against Astralis, you may do as well as Vitality did.
I think we've got more chance of 13-0ing Astralis than not being 13-0'd by Vitality.
That says a lot.
Yeah. I mean, both chances are incredibly small. Like, Vitality, yeah, we wouldn't even touch it. We wouldn't even see them. It would be a complete waste of... Yeah, they just got demolished. Like, and I understand that Cadian is only an emergency sub, so he hasn't had a lot of time to practice their T-side. But it didn't look good. And look, again, we said, like, the other week, like, they've pissed everyone off and spent loads of money to build the team, and it's fucking rubbish.
Yeah.
It's just terrible. It's not good. It's not good for the amount of money they spent. It's not good generally. Like, Vitality are really good, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, Vitality are really good.
No T-side rounds. You couldn't find Apex for 1 round. You couldn't just run over Apex with Tech 9s or something. Like, you couldn't do that.
It's impressive to me that the answer was Device couldn't get an opening pick to get them around.
Yeah, I mean, it's
round.
all so ugly. It's all so ugly.
Like, there's no way that, like, Spinks or Flames or Apex didn't over-aggress somewhere that Device was just watching with Mob.
Well, the thing is, they actually had 10 opening kills over the 2 maps. It was like 20 to 10 in opening kills. Which is like, 20 to 10 is still a beating. But, like, they had 3 opening kills on Inferno, lost 30-0. They had 7 on Dust 2 and only won 4. Like, you mentioned, like, Device didn't get first kills. He had the most first kills on Dust 2. Like, he was finding picks. They're just that bad with rifles.
Let me rephrase it. It wasn't the opener. It was the converting any amount of opener.
Yeah, it's like they just... Which is the sign of a badly, like, structured team, which you would imagine will get better. Like,
yeah. They're
not going to keep losing 50% of the rounds they have a man advantage in. Or over 50%. Like, that's just not going to happen.
43% of those rounds.
Yeah. And they lost 3 clutches to 0 in the first map, which In a 30-0, there's always going to be some rounds that are kind of close, but they had under 2 kills a round. Like,
let's be clear, 13-0 is generally not a skill thing. There is a lot of skill involved, but there's also a shit pile of luck involved if you're going to 13 someone.
I mean, I'd have to watch back the clutches to see how lucky they were, or you know what I mean. But yeah, it was 65 kills to 24. I miscounted. It was 24 kills. 65 kills to 24 in map 1.
Yeah,
Dust 2 was 68 to 35. Like, they were like fundamentally battered in a way that, like, if you put Vitality against a normal tier 2 team, they wouldn't do this to them.
Correct. So, to TLDR for you, what we've just talked about for the last 20 minutes, Cadian did a fucky-wucky. Sorry, Astralis did a fucky-wucky and said that Bro was unfit to play and brought Cadian in. All the IGLs protested, wrote a very nice letter, nothing happened, and Astralis are still bad.
Yes.
Okay. Let's talk about the rest of the stuff.
I got a good stat for you.
Okay,
on Inferno, 3 members of Astralis didn't kill Flames. At any point. Stown didn't kill 3 different players on Vitality. Stown didn't kill Flames, Zywoo, or Mezzy.
This is so bad.
That can't be right. Did he have... Hang on.
We are questioning statistics now. We have gotten to that bit on the stages of grief.
Yeah, he had 3 kills on Inferno. Yeah. He had 3 kills on Inferno, 2 of them were on Sphinx. Yeah, he didn't kill 3 people on it. Like that is one of the most miserable maps you'll ever see. You get 13-0, you don't kill any. Like 3 members of the team you never kill at any point. Did he kill them at any point in the series? Stown never killed Flames in the series. At no point in the series did Stown kill Flames. Yabby never killed Apex, although admittedly he only had 2 duels against him. How bad do you get beaten? Vitality are good, don't get me wrong, but...
The Vitality are very good.
These stats are silly. These are silly stats. Like, this should not happen to a player like Stown. I've said before, I think Stown's overrated. I don't think he's that good, but... He's better than not killing Flames for an entire series.
Yeah.
He didn't kill him at any point. Not even by accident.
Before we go and stop talking about Cadian here, this is us at the end of the podcast. I forgot a bit, and I want to add this here. The Astralis...
Didn't need to tell them this.
No. This is important. The Astralis CEO came out and gave a quote about this, where they said, basically, I don't give a shit if we get bashed in one way or the other about this entire process. I think that the fact that there are no comments from Bro, from the agent, or from us anymore should be interpreted as us having solved it. I have some questions involving, what do you deem the comment from the agent then as do you deem that as a comment or no comment?
I think it sounds like he's suggesting everyone's, agreed to stay stum.
I don't know,
That's what it sounds like to me.
Like, there's apparently some Danish law stuff with confidentiality, but on the other hand, I believe the confidentiality is that he's not sick.
Yeah.
Like,
he actually, Bro really does have br0vid-19. That's crazy.
Like, I don't know what to say. I don't.
He's actually going to make all events ill.
It's so impressive to me that the guy that founded Astralis really just came out and was like, "Hey, I'm going to double down." Like, if he just came out and was like, "Hey, we may have fucked up a little here. We tried to get an emergency sub through. We thought this was going to work for us. Didn't work. Or it shouldn't have worked. Fair play. But this was, haha, we got away with it. Here's the legal reason why we got away with it."
It's like O.J. Simpson writing the "If I Did It" book, isn't it? It's like, yeah, we got away with it, now what?
If I did it, this is exactly how I would have done it.
Yeah.
Yeah, back to the rest of the podcast. All right, let's jump to the rest of the event. Which won't take us a huge amount of time because there wasn't a huge amount of drama. Navi beat Falcons. I want to talk a little bit about this match in terms of Stiko. So Stiko was on the analyst test for this match, and put an absolute banger tweet out that said something along the lines of, did Snappy realize that today wasn't also a day to protest?
Yeah.
Which, fucking excellent. Snappy thought the boycott was to not show up. Snappy thought the boycott to not show up still applies. Someone tell him the media day is over. Which prompted an excellent little conversation with Magisk.
Yeah.
How's the analyst's life? The response, can't tell, there wasn't a competitive game to analyze yet.
Yeah.
Which is, I'm glad you enjoy your time. You'll be great in your new job.
Which is
Excellent.
it's a good line. But this was a hell of a lot more competitive than the series we just spoke about. It wasn't great, don't get me wrong. I'd like to say I had a dream last night. The Falcons win the event. Do with that what you will. Do with that what you will.
Yeah, so Falcons got to 15 total combined rounds, which is, last time I checked, about 3.1 times more than Astralis got. Yeah.
3.75 times.
Somewhere between 3 and 4 amount of times more than Astralis.
3.75.
So Navi go to the upper final. They will face G2 there, who beat FaZe today in a 2-1 match.
Right. I'll be honest, I missed this game, and all I saw on Twitter was people moaning about Snacks. I didn't realise they won. What's everyone up in arms about? Chill out!
I believe generally everyone is up in arms that Snacks is just Hooksy, but old.
Well, there's a bit like, oh yeah, he's keeping the M4 over the Deagle. It's like when Nico has a Deagle. Right, put it this way. You've got more chance of getting 2 kills if Snacks gets 1 with an M4 and Nico 1-deeg somebody than you do, like, Nico killing 2 people with an M4, because Snacks is not going to 1-deeg anyone. But Nico will 1-deeg somebody.
Yep. Nico is a top 3 Deagle player in the world, or historically has been a top 3 Deagle player in the world.
Yeah.
Give Snacks the rifle.
Honestly, when it's an M4, yes. An AK, give it to Nico.
different sword.
An M4, genuinely, I would rather have Nico on a Deagle Snacks on an M4. Now, Malbs on a 5.7 versus Snacks on an M4, I'm less enthused about. But it does depend on position as well. Like, if you're,
if Malbs is going to play a position that he's going to push and die just to get info, give him fuck off.
Say it's half wall on Inferno or Pronax on Mirage. Like 5.7's again about as good as an M4 at that position. Like there are some positions where I would rather have a 5.7 than an M4. It's not many, but there are some.
Not many. On the other side of the bracket, the only other game that happened there was Spirit against Liquid, which was actually good.
Yep.
Liquid did end up beating Spirit. It was 2 very close games. Other than the first map, Spirit won pretty handily in the first map. But, Ultimate's the real fucking deal. And
he's so good.
Naf had to clutch nuke in like a 1v2, 1v3 in order to get to Anubis, which then went 23 rounds.
Yeah.
Just good Counter-Strike all over from all.
Yeah, look, I think that's it's actually quite a good sign for both teams. Spirit have been pretty shaky, but like we know, like, it looks like Liquid are really, really good right now.
And
Spirit,
additionally, Donk performed.
Yeah.
Donk performed today. Donk was there. Like, you could go and look at these stats and go, well, Zontix and Magix weren't there as much as they should be normally, or something like that. But sometimes you just have days where not everyone's on the same page. But Donk was there today, and Liquid showed up mostly.
Do you know why else I love this? Liquid winning means we get Donk versus Astralis in the lower bracket.
Oh, could that be even worse than Astralis Vitality?
We might be seeing like numbers that haven't been invented yet from Donk. Like, you think every number ever has been like counted by like John Maths? Donk's going to make new ones up against Astralis because Spirit as a team are kind of like they're nowhere near as drilled as Vitality, but all of their kills are funneled into Donk, and he is going to farm.
So here's the other thing. That puts a really fun other match in the upper finals, which is Vitality Liquid.
Yeah.
Because Vitality is very fucking good. But Liquid are kind of showing us they are also very fucking good.
Yeah. I think Vitality and Liquid might be... I think Liquid are maybe the third best team in the world.
Liquid are ranked at number 8 right now in the world, and I think that is a fraudulent ranking.
I think
but
it's
not in a bad fraudulence. I think it is
No.
like they are higher than their ranking says they are.
it feels like Na'Vi, Vitality are locked as top 2.
Yeah,
And then there's like a second bracket which is Liquid, Spirit,
G2, Mouse.
G2, Mouse, Eternal Fire ish.
I don't know if I put Eternal Fire. I know Eternal
No,
Fire
not
just
not
won Pro
yet,
League.
but not yet.
Not one Pro League, but got to the finals.
Nearly won Pro League.
But
But I think okay. You say those 4. I think Liquid are on current form. They look better than the other teams. Spirit are a bit shaky. Mouse have not been good. G2 will just lose games. They just like the style they play is so coin flippy.
You just laugh a little at G2 when you say, "Where do you rank G2?" You don't.
G2. Well, we were talking about League of Legends before we went. Like, I haven't watched League of Legends in a long time. The G2 are like a team full of whippos. Like they're all just like either brilliant or terrible, and there is no consideration of playing together. Like their T-side rounds are barely cohesive, but they're so good at the game that it just doesn't matter. Like it's like playing against Russians in matchmaking. Like it must be horrible to play against when they're playing well, because nothing makes any sense. And then Nico just headshots 3 of you and you lose the round.
All right. The playoffs for this event last through till Sunday. We'll record it after the end. Shall we do a little predictions?
Yeah.
Finals and who wins the event, I'm thinking.
Na'Vi beat G2 comfortably.
That this is in the Group A uppers.
Yeah. Falcons beat FaZe.
I feel confident in your ability to say that.
It came to me in a dream.
So that would mean Na'Vi is the 1st seed, Falcons is the 3rd seed, G2 is the 2nd seed. Okay, and then on the other side, I'm going to go Vitality beat Liquid.
Yeah.
Close game.
Liquid are really good. Vitality are a hair better. It's not much.
And I think Spirit absolutely trounced the metric shit out of Astralis.
Like, I hope so. It'd be it will be really disappointing if Donk goes negative. Do you know what I mean? It'd be so boring.
So that means
I want to see him go 68 and 17. I want cricket scores.
So that would mean that our quarterfinals are G2 against Spirit. I couldn't tell you who fucking wins that match.
every G2 game that isn't against Vitality or Na'Vi is a coin flip.
Yep.
They will pretty much always lose to those two.
They will play against the winner of that match plays against Vitality. I'm just comfortable saying I don't care who wins the quarterfinal. Vitality will win the semifinal.
Yeah, probably.
On the other,
like we said last week, and I was proven immediately wrong because they lost the next game to Eternal Fire. But Vitality, when they're good, just feels so so constricting. Yeah, they feel so impossible to beat.
On the other side of the bracket, it'll be Falcons Liquid, of which I think it's Liquid. I know that you've got your Falcons dream here, but
didn't Falcons win it? They
you know
win
what?
The whole thing.
There is some amount of this is the former Astralis lineup partially. Imagine Twist having to look over and look at Magisk and Dupree. Gets a little tilted from that. Winner of that will go play Na'Vi. I think that there is a case there to say that Liquid could beat Na'Vi.
I'd love to see. I want to see Na'Vi Liquid.
We've seen.
It's just a shame the Falcons are beating them. It's so sad.
We've actually seen Na'Vi Liquid somewhat recently. We saw it in fall groups about a month and a half ago, and Liquid won both times 2-1. I don't know if that really pushes me in either direction yet.
No, Na'Vi are one of the best at adapting to teams that have beaten them. They're kind of one of the best at everything. That's what makes them so good. They're just a really good team.
So the final will be Vitality versus your pick of Falcons Team Liquid Na'Vi.
Falcons. Agreed.
I think Vitality win this event, regardless of who comes to the other side. If I'm thinking with a very analytical mind here.
I find it very difficult to bet against Vitality.
Even if it's Na'Vi on the other side.
So Falcons win.
All
They're
right.
winning. They're winning some event soon. It came to me in a dream. They're winning an event soon.
I wonder if they're playing in a Mickey Mouse tournament after this. That would be
Maybe.
very helpful. Oh yeah, they play in the Thunderpick World Championship after this.
Maybe it was that.
That's where they take their
Maybe.
win.
Well, we'll see, won't we? We'll see in time.
All right. Some random roster move news around the rest of the Counter-Strike sphere. nawwk has joined Fnatic on a loan. It's a 6-month loan, as revealed by Kassad. This will be instead of Afro on Fnatic.
Yeah, I mean, upgrade, obviously.
It's an upgrade. I don't think it changes much.
It makes Falcons more reliable. I've got Falcons on the brain. Makes Fnatic more reliable. They might start actually qualifying for more events because nawwk is a reliable player.
nawwk is a reliable player, but I'm not convinced about anyone else on this team.
I mean, Blame F is good at the level that Fnatic are playing at. Let's not mess around.
I will also like to note that Bleed, who we haven't talked about in a bit, benched Nexa. So they are now in the search of 2 players. And because of the way the Perfect World major rules are, which I believe says you could not have... The only players you can pick up are ones that have not participated in the RMR at all. Mm-hmm. They're going to have a very hard issue.
Bleed already out of the RMR?
Yeah, but they're not going to find anyone that wants to join.
Oh, I see.
I
see what you're saying.
Because they want to go play in the RMR. The other one, OG have officially signed Buzz. You may have heard us talk about this about a month ago. He was standing in.
You might have immediately deleted it from your brain because who cares?
He was standing in. Now he's signed. You'll know that we know that you deleted it because neither of us remembered it until I brought it up.
I said, didn't this happen like a month ago? And you were like, that's probably.
I had no clue.
Yeah.
I'm going to stand by that.
Look, it's entirely possible that, it sounds like an AI move. OG signed Buzz, yeah, of course they did.
What if one day HLTV just started posting AI roster move articles to see if we would actually figure out if they're real or not?
I hate AI. I'm not getting into this.
So do I, but I think that would be an interesting experiment. Gamer Legion recruited Towson, so that's the replacement for Andu. We know absolutely nothing about him. We know next to
anyone
about Andu. Yep. So I'm saying it. It's happened. That's it. I'm moving on.
Gamer Legion seem to know something. Yep. They seem to be quite clever. They're not like
Gamer Legion has the same level in my head of like finding people as Into the Breach do. Well,
it's an endpoint rather than Into the Breach.
Yeah, I was going
Into the Breach. I think Into the Breach just got lucky, to be honest, because ever since they've built some of the stinkiest teams.
Did you see the clip that was going around on Twitter of Into the Breach playing against Fnatic the other day?
No.
I think it was Synopsy. They were mid-ancient, and Into the Breach was beating the metric shit out of Fnatic. And mid-round on Ancient, Synopsy just pulls his hands off the keyboard, puts a cigarette in his mouth, and lights it, just as they're fucking playing the game, and starts smoking on it.
It's the most Balkan thing I've ever
heard. I love it. And then the last roster move for us to talk about is Lucaozy replacing Brazen on MIBR, which is an actual real move.
Yeah. Lucaozy and Insani on the same team is like brave. It might be genius.
So Lucaozy and
Twin
Insani,
Fangs.
They basically share all their roles.
Yeah, I think so. From what I remember of watching them, they're both insanely aggressive on T side.
Mm-hmm. So I don't know who's playing where. But my genius idea is just say fuck positions, duo them together, and have them push the living shit out of everything.
They honestly should try and play like Furia used to, where they're just like they just double push, or even what Heroic did, where they just double push everywhere on the map. Just take Insani +1, Lucaozy +1, and double push on CT side especially, double push areas, take control of them, back off. One of them rotates. Double push somewhere else. Just play like that because you're not going to make Insani and Lucaozy stand still for very long.
No.
I don't think, anyway. Maybe Insani's, actually incredible, not as an entry fragger. Who knows?
And let me note that this actually comes after MIBR finished 3rd, 4th at Pro League, where they had actually good form and played really well.
Yeah.
And now Lucaozy is on this team as well.
Spend money to make money. Never stand still.
it's kind of...
I mean, I'm joking, but like,
No.
what's it like? Yeah, okay, they got third, fourth. How do they get first, second? How do they get second? You have to keep improving. It's like when Heroic were the third best team in the world, they swapped Refresh and Borup for Shush and Yabi. No, somebody, and everyone was like, "Oh, that's brave." It was an upgrade. It made him the best team in the world for a bit. Like sometimes you have to gamble when you're in that position to like push further than you currently are.
One more little bit of news I want to talk about. Normally we wouldn't talk about this kind of shit, but I've decided we're going to. T1, which is the organization that houses Faker and historically the best League of Legends team in the world, without getting into whether it is right now or not, had the CEO Joe Marsh, American CEO, team is influenced by Comcast and Philly. They also, for a while, owned an Overwatch League slot for the Philly Fusion, I believe. They are looking at getting into Counter-Strike and signing a Brazilian team. And I have so many questions involving that, which is, why are you trying to sign a Brazilian team? Your T1...
Yeah, it doesn't
actually, I think
sense.
that's the end of my questions.
Well, look, there is a lot of talent in Brazil. Like there really is. Like there are so many Brazilian teams. Each event just has like 3 out of like 8 Brazilian teams, and they're all kind of much of a muchness. If you could build a Brazilian super team, I think you'd have a really good team. You'd probably have 2 really good Brazilian teams if you spread this out. Whatever.
If there's any org that I trust to say we're going to go to Brazil and make a very good team, it may actually be T1. Because they've kind of figured out how the fuck to scout, specifically in Korea with League of Legends. But they figured out how to scout and do it correctly there.
My problem is, and maybe they're looking at the reverse of this, and this is why they want a Brazilian team. Prices for players in Brazil are massively inflated because their players don't really play internationally. So it's the same reason why Athletic Bilbao players in football are expensive. Athletic Bilbao only sign players from a very specific region in Spain, which means when they get a good player, they're worth more to them, so they're sold for more. Mm-hmm. Brazil is similar. Like when a Brazilian team gets a good player, they put a silly price on them because they don't want to sell to a rival for a start. And 2, there's only a scarce number of players available to a team like Furia. Mm-hmm. They've tried going with signing an American and they didn't like it, so they went back to Brazil. So there's only a few Brazilian players that Furia would want to sign, so their prices are inflated. Now, there are 2 ways to look at this. One is, if T1 want to sign a really good Brazilian team, they're going to have to pay a ridiculous amount of money. However, if they can find a cheap Brazilian team and nurture that talent or find gems, they can sell those on for silly money, which might be the reason they want to do it, is because they can become a talent farm and make lots of money and then pump that back into the League of Legends team.
Which famously needs the money because Faker's salary is like all of Gen G's salary, but that's neither here nor there. As a quick aside, do you know any of the players on the T1 Valorant roster? I know the answer is no, but...
No.
Okay. They have Excurate.
Oh, wow.
The former Tai Lu player. Had
I
absolutely no idea, but
I like
apparently
him.
that's a thing. I think that's actually it for this week. It was kind of a short week. We finished Pro League. I know we didn't talk a huge amount about Pro League, but...
yeah, I mean, Na'Vi won. They beat Eternal Fire.
Yeah. The Cadian...
It was a good match. Really, really good match, to be fair. Like, it was a genuinely good game. One of the... A best of 5 that felt like it wasn't going to be that good, and one of those where you're like, I wish this was a best of 3, but actually kind of lived up to it. Mm-hmm. Na'Vi just kind of the best team in the world. Eternal Fire came pretty close to beating them and did their country proud, but you know, sometimes Goliath really does win.
Yeah. We're going to be back again next week. We'll talk about the finals of Blast that are going on. We'll figure out what we're talking about past that point. You can find us on Twitter at LoganRampap, at AZSK, and at RetailDR. This episode was produced by James Serpa. This episode was edited by Mac. We will be back next week. Bye, everyone.